What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the specs of the iPhone 5s to the HTC One. Now the iPhone 5s has just been announced today and it's an incremental upgrade to the iPhone 5, so it does look the same but it does have some nice new features. The HTC One on the other hand has been one of the most popular Android smartphones of 2013, and it's also arguably the best built smartphone of 2013 as well. But what are the key differences between these two devices? Well, do hit that thumbs up button and let's find out in this head-to-head spec comparison. Now looking at the dimensions initially, the iPhone 5s is quite a bit smaller than the HTC One. 13.6mm in terms of height, 9.6mm in terms of width, 1.7mm in terms of thickness as well. So overall a very compact device compared to the HTC One, but that's because the HTC One does have a larger screen, a 4.7-inch screen versus a 4-inch screen which the iPhone 5s has. So that's going to mean that the HTC One, you've got a lot more real estate on that screen, but that's at the expense of the larger size. Now, in terms of resolution, the HTC One has a full HD screen, so you've got 1920 by 1080, 468 ppi, one of the highest PPIs on any smartphone out there, if not the highest PPI. And in comparison, the iPhone 5s has the same resolution as the iPhone 5, which is 1136 by 640, so smaller than 720p even, and that's 326 ppi. So the HTC One definitely has a big advantage here. You've got a full HD screen and the pixel density is also much higher on the HTC One, so videos and images are going to be looking that much more sharp on the HTC One, and just the fact that you've got a full HD screen, so videos pixel for pixel are going to be much better on the HTC One. This for me was disappointing about the iPhone 5s. I was hoping for a higher resolution screen. I understand why they've done this. It's because the apps from the iPhone 5 will still be compatible with the 5s without any tweaks needed from developers, which is a nice thing. But the fact that it's still smaller than 720p is a little bit of an issue for me. Now in terms of the weight of these devices, the iPhone 5s is also lighter, 31 grams lighter than the HTC One, so compact overall. In terms of build, both of these have an aluminium unibody build, so both of these are going to be quite premium feeling and looking, and that's really nice to see, and something quite important for a lot of people out there as well, the build of the device. Now in terms of the internals, the HTC One has a 1.7 GHz quad-core processor. The iPhone 5s, they've not been specific in terms of the cores or the clock speed, but you've got an A7 chip in there, which is a 64-bit chip. In terms of actual performance, we'll have to put them side by side and do benchmarks and things to see what the differences are between these two devices. In terms of RAM, the HTC One has 2GB of RAM. The iPhone 5s, they've not been specific. I believe it's got 1GB of RAM, but not 100% because they've not been specific about this. In terms of the different versions available, you've got the 16, 32 and 64GB versions on the iPhone 5s. The HTC One, you've got the 32 and 64GB versions. Now neither of these have expandable storage, so that's something to bear in mind, that you're not going to be able to expand your storage later on. Now looking at the cameras, this is quite interesting. The HTC One, they went for something a little bit different. So 4 megapixels you've got on here, but the ultra pixels, so much larger than normal pixels out there. 2 microns per pixel on the HTC One here, so quite nice in low light, one of the best low light performers out there at the moment. The iPhone 5s has also gone along this path but not all the way, so you've got an 8 megapixel camera, so instead of going for a high megapixel camera they've stuck with the same, but the pixels are larger, 1.5 microns, so not as much as the HTC One but still larger. It'd be nice to see these side by side to see the comparison in terms of low light, especially to see what difference will be between these two. Now in terms of video, both of these have 1080p at 30 frames a second. The HTC One has 720p at 60 frames a second, but the iPhone 5s has 720p at 120 frames a second, so that's really great to see, and for slow motion that's going to be absolutely awesome. In terms of the front facing cameras, 2.1 megapixels at 1080p on the HTC One. The iPhone 5s, you've still only got 1.2 megapixels and it is still only 720p HD. Now this is something else that's quite disappointing for me. 1080p would have been quite nice and, you know, consistent with the rear facing camera as well, but that's quite disappointing for me here. Connectivity, you've got NFC as well as an IR blaster on the HTC One. You've not got an IR blaster on the iPhone 5s. I don't believe you've got NFC either. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I don't think you've got NFC on the iPhone 5s either. Now operating systems, you've got iOS versus Android. Android Jelly Bean 4.2.2 on the HTC One with the HTC Sense UI that's on top, the skin that sits on top of the Android system. The iPhone 5, you've got iOS 7, the latest version, the first device to ship with iOS 7 out of the box. And in terms of some of the key features of these devices that are different from other devices out there, the HTC One has those dual stereo speakers, the front speakers with a boom sound, and they are some of the best sounding speakers on any device out there, which is very, very nice. The iPhone 5S also offers a Touch ID. Now this is a fingerprint scanner on the home button, so this is really, really nice to see, something different, something unique, and it's going to let you unlock the device with your fingerprint, or it's going to also let you make purchases on the App Store and things. So that's really, really nice to see, quite secure and also very quick instead of having to put in a password or remembering your password each time. Batteries, you've got a 2300 mAh battery on the HTC One. The iPhone 5S has a 1440 mAh battery, so higher milliamps on the HTC One, but it does have a high resolution screen that's going to be pushing out more pixels, so it'll be good to see these side by side. Neither of these batteries are removable, so you do have the batteries enclosed within the devices. You're not going to be able to get a spare or replacement. Now finally, looking at the price, the HTC One right now you can pick it up for about £400 to £450 here in the UK, or roughly about $600 offline. This is for the 32GB version, and it's roughly about $99 on a 24-month contract in the US as well. Now comparing the like-for-like models, so the 32GB version of the iPhone 5S, you're looking at roughly about £629 here in the UK offline, and $299 in the US on a 24-month contract. So quite a bit of a difference in terms of price on the 32GB versions between these two. The iPhone 5S is going to be available from the 20th of September, so just around the corner here, but definitely a big difference in price for the 32GB versions of both of these devices. So those are the key differences between these two devices. Both are boasting some seriously nice specs. Now the iPhone 5S, I would have liked it to have a high resolution screen, and especially that front-facing camera, you know, would have been nice to have it as 1080p, but I'm really impressed with some of the other features. Looking forward to testing out that camera as well as that fingerprint Touch ID feature as well. The HTC One is a very, very nice phone, one of the most popular of 2013 as I mentioned, and it's also one of the best built Android phones out there at the market right now as well. So both quite compelling options. Which one would you go for? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, as always, please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out, and why not subscribe to the channel? I've got plenty more content coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time. If you want to see more regular videos like this one, then be sure to hit the subscribe button, which will be below. If you're on a mobile device, it may be somewhere else. If you want to see my previous related video, then hit the link right here. If you want to stay in touch over Facebook, Twitter and Google+, then all of the addresses will be there somewhere, as well as direct links in the description below.